Hello, and welcome to today's episode of System 2 Development, Episode 6. Today we're gonna have a very interesting talk. Is that true, Elias? We had three topics which we dealt with in a very good way, I would say. We got into some heated discussions. First topic, unskippable cinematics. Look forward to that one. And for the second one, we had a thought experiment for crowdsourced design. Number three, is a factory in Satisfactory a real factory? So my name is Terje.
My name is Elias Hogstedt.
And we're gonna take you on a real ride in this episode. So look forward to that. On with the show. Nå må vi snakke engelsk fra nå.
Okay.
Okay, so you think that intro idea is gonna be fake?
Yes.
I mean,
We can do it.
Okay, we can try it? Okay. But you have to close the door before you... Okay. Ah! Hey, Elias! It's nice to see you. Have a seat. A little bit late today. Yeah. How you been?
Oh, good.
Yeah?
Been busy with work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What a drag, huh? How's the girlfriend?
She's fine.
Yeah.
I think she's expecting me to come sing karaoke.
Sing karaoke today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Fuck
I
that.
didn't have time.
Yeah. Are you wondering how my week has been?
Yes. How was your week?
Well, you don't want to know. It's been so stressful. Nah, actually, it's not. It hasn't been that stressful.
Oh.
Wait. Let me adjust the camera a little bit here. I think it's crooked. It's been very chill actually. But I think that's enough small talk for the audience. We got a little bit more of a structure this time, so we got some topics here that we're gonna talk about. And the first topic, very exciting, is gonna be unskippable cinematics. And Elias, go. What do you have to say about that?
My first experience with the Crisis was kind of bad.
Crisis,
Because of
the video game.
Yeah, because of the skippable scenes.
Yeah, because in Crisis, you can't skip any cinematics.
But so from my point of view, it's very annoying. But from the game designer's point of view, it's kind of like, should the players need to follow the story, or should they be able to skip it?
Yeah, because there is obviously, from the game designer's point of view, there for every design decision you make, there's always a reasoning behind it, for the most part. So why would Crisis force the players, like a game like Crisis as well, it's more about is like a glorified tech demo. At least that's why that's what it's been, portrayed as. And then why would you need to see the cinematics?
Yeah, but the story is supposed to be like a good story. Like, is it based on a book or something like that? I don't know. I find it. Well, in general, I'm also interested in stories and games.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's a good story.
But I can imagine, like,
But do you like stories in general?
I love stories, and like story structure and story.
Why don't you like them in games?
Because games are not about that. Because you know how they say in movies, show don't tell. Because a movie is not a book. In a book, all you do is tell. The protagonist is thinking that he wants to rob a bank. So it's like everything is about telling.
Mm.
In a movie, if you're telling, like if you like the classic example is that you have a narrator that narrates everything. And it's just like, oh, Stanley was thinking. This is Stanley Parable. Stanley was thinking about maybe robbing a bank, and then Stanley's going out the door and he's like thinking about robbing a bank. You're supposed to show and not tell, because a movies, they have a different expression than the book. It's like it's supposed to be better, but then in video games it takes even a bit further. It's supposed to be experience, don't show, or something like that. And if you're doing a cinematic, it's like you're showing the audience what's going on instead of letting the player experience the story themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like robbing the medium of some of its advantages. Just like, yeah.
Like, even though I don't like stories so much. Oh, okay. So for example, Half-Life 2 was kind of that kind of game where you were not forced to watch, or you're forced to sit through the cutscene, but you can go walk around and do whatever you want while the cutscene's going on. But at the same time, you kind of lose that cinematic. It kind of becomes not so serious. Like, you're not. It reminds me a bit of like a movie in VR. Where you can just look around and like there's no
focus.
Yeah, there's no focus. You don't know what to focus on.
Yeah, that is true.
So it becomes like, maybe I shouldn't judge Half-Life 2 because I played so much Carrier's Bond, which kind of ruined the whole
the whole story.
The whole story is just but it didn't feel well. The cutscenes didn't feel very cutscenes-ish or cinematic. But I guess he got the point across.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's very obvious that, for me at least, that Valve, they were really trying to make the player experience the story and not show them the story. And I mean, to a certain extent, but yeah, I think there's also some truth to that like you kind of lose the focus.
Yeah.
If you let the player just like fuck around, do whatever.
Like the storyteller loses some tools to tell the story.
Yeah, because even in the movie sense, like some movies, even like Shawshank Redemption, which is, for you who don't know, rated #1 on IMDb. They have a narrator, and they tell the story like, oh, Andy Dufresne, when he first came to Shawshank, he was just a guy. And it's like, it works. So,
but should I be forced to? Should I have a choice or not?
Yeah, that's the question.
Because I'm too impatient, but maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, you would just skip the cinematics no matter what.
I think it's the same with some apps as well, like where you're forced to watch some tutorial in the beginning because they know from all the data they collected about how people use the apps that people don't get it when they get into the app without watching any sort of onboarding tutorial or. So
the app makers, they try to do this in like the user's best interest. They know, they try to hold your hand and try to show you how to use the app.
So even though I'm impatient and I want to skip the tutorial, it's probably better for me to watch the tutorial, even though in the moment I don't want.
Yeah, but it's also, if you have to have a tutorial, it's a sign of a poorly designed app.
Yeah,
maybe they could just have designed a better app, and then you wouldn't need a tutorial.
Should be self-explanatory. I remember trying, I think it was one of those Final Fantasy MMOs on mobile, and the tutorial was like, I think it was like in total 5 minutes to go through tutorial, like how to use the app and how to use this instance. And I just skipped through everything.
Yeah, of course.
But even though like you could skip a little bit, but not fully, I think. But the whole app is like, or the whole game is very complicated. It's not. It's not very casual.
Yeah, it's not very intuitive.
Yeah, I think it's like it's made for a specific audience.
Yeah.
That they know how to. Yeah, there's so many menus and so many like different ways of leveling up and
yeah.
It was very noisy in its design. And maybe too many options. But then again, it would also market it towards an Asian audience, like, or it was designed towards an Asian audience, I guess.
Yeah, and they're a little bit more patient in Asia, right?
I don't know if they're more patient, but I think it feels like they're more used to noise. They can navigate noise easier.
Yeah.
It just seems like based on like web design as well. In Japan, for example. I think this has a term. I kind of forgot what it's called, but web design in Japan is very noisy, very non-minimalistic or maximalistic, I guess. Well, it's just how things are. And I guess people prefer that kind of design.
Noisy design with a lot of pictures and text.
Yeah.
But also, I would, in back to the cinematics, because I think that if you're a game director or like main game developer, game designer, then it's your job to make your vision, like to have, first and foremost, to have a vision and to try and make something, to try and say something. And if like what you want to make is heavily relies on story, like you want to make a game that's basically like a gripping story or whatever, that's like the main thing about your game. You're like, fuck the combat, fuck the crafting system, progression, that's like not that important. It's like, it's a feature and it's like something you do, but the main thing about this game is like experiencing this gripping story. It's like, then you almost can't make the cinematics unskippable, because then if people skip it, they just miss the game, and it's just like
or they miss the story, I guess.
They miss the story, or like they miss, because you're making an artistic expression, and if that is so reliant on story, then they're gonna miss it. So I can totally see why a game developer would make the cinematics unskippable.
But I feel like the Souls series, like to me, I've never been interested in the story behind it. So I always skipped all the stories or all the cutscenes and just play the game as it is. But there's a certain part of the community who really likes the story on itself.
I know one of those guys.
No. But maybe that's enough. Like maybe, like the people who care about the story won't skip the story and would enjoy like seeing all the cutscenes.
But the Souls
and the
game.
people who don't care, they don't care in the first. It's very difficult to make them care about the story in the first place.
Yeah, but I mean the Souls games, they're not about the story.
Yeah, but so that was kind of my point. Like even though it's not about the story, some people are really interested in the story.
Yeah.
Regardless, or I don't know if it's not. I think it's like 50-50. I don't think it's. I think the story in Dark Souls is kind of serious. Maybe.
Of course, it's serious.
Yeah, but like.
And I mean, they have given it a lot of thought, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's not what the game is about. If you have to arrange the components of the game in order from most important to least important.
But most important to who? Like the developers or the... Because obviously I think Dark Souls is not... I don't think the story is so important for the players.
No, but for the developers.
Yeah.
Like, what are we trying to make? What is the focus? What are the core pillars of this game? It would be... I mean, story would probably be one of the pillars. It's like, oh, this is gonna be, you know, dark fantasy. What's it called? Dark fantasy? I don't know. I think it's called something.
The genre?
Yeah, or like the theme.
Yeah.
I think it's called dark fantasy, or like steampunkish. Yeah, you know, and it's called. That's like one of the pillars, but it's not the main pillar. The main pillar is like, oh, this is gonna test your skills. It's gonna be, you know, you have to memorize patterns, and you have to, you know, progression and combat. That's like the main thing in those games.
Yeah, I'm not saying the story is the most important thing in Dark Souls, but I'm saying it's more important than in other games.
Like
Mario? I don't know, Age of Empires.
Age of Empires? Have you played through the campaign in Age of Empires? It's a very gripping story.
Yeah, it's been a while, so
yeah, no, I don't think it's very story. But I mean, it does have some story. And for example, like.
But my point was just it has some story, and the story has been given some thought by the designers.
Definitely.
Yeah, but it's skippable, and still, in the end, you get these people who are really into the story, and those who don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. But if you're making, you know, like a walking simulator, a very story-based game, the only action you can do is walk around, look at things, inspect, pick up boring things, and then, you know, like Edith Finch or something like that. It's just all about exploring this location and trying to uncover some story. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you even play the game if you don't want the story, you know?
Right. What was there was a franchise that was very popular a few years back.
Like Walking Dead?
Yeah, Walking Dead, yeah. Well, did that have skippable cutscenes?
I don't remember. But yeah, that's like a class. I would imagine it doesn't have a skippable cinematics. But yeah, that's like a good example, I think, because if you want, it's like a multi-choice adventure, and it's all about branching narratives. And if you're not there for that, then why are you even playing the game, you know? So why would you skip the story? All you want to do is just like find out what happens. So yeah.
I was thinking about the Elder Scrolls series. I don't think they have cutscenes. Or
Elder Scrolls.
barely. I think more in Oblivion.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think they're more like. I feel like every cutscene in those games is just like the typical, like you focus on the character and they say something. There's no cutscene, I think.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe the intro and outro.
And there's not really a big plot. That's like one of the things that characterizes game stories. They don't really focus that much on plot. It's just like characters, and they do character things. And I think that's what Elder Scrolls does. It's just like there's all these characters, and you can explore them and like figure out what they're trying to do and who they are. But as the player, you don't really need to know what the overarching plot is, like what's going to happen, what's the story of the world and stuff like that. But I don't know. I never played.
I remember I played Morrowind, but I never. Maybe I was too young to even pay attention to the story.
Yeah, because that's an old game.
Yeah.
But it's the same in World of Warcraft, because there you can like skip all the story if you want to.
Mm.
But there, it's a very committed crowd that reads the lore. I'm very into it, and I mean there's lots of books and stuff, and all the quests. Figure out what's the story.
Mm.
But yeah, everything is skippable. Yeah, I think that's. So what is the conclusion here? I just want to write down. You know, what should we just like write? Bad?
Well, I feel like all the arguments you made was for not having unskippable. Well, I mean, unskippable scenes.
Unskippable scenes, bad.
Well,
I also think like it's just like I'm just saying that story games are not really for me. Like I absolutely hated Walking Dead. It's like the most boring game I ever played. But I mean people do like those games. So if you're a story person and you want to play a game with stories, then you probably want to play a game with unskippable cinematics. And if you want to do combat and you just want to skip all the cinematics, then don't play Walking Dead or any games like that.
But in the end, it's up to the developers what they want to do with the game.
That is right.
But it's our choice to play the game or not. That's kind of boring, I think.
Boring answer.
Yeah.
It's a very boring answer. So instead, we're gonna say unskippable cinematics, bad.
Yeah.
Next topic. Because the other day you had a very interesting idea for a thought experiment. We just had to write this down for the podcast. And the thought experiment is this: what if you could make a video game that was completely crowdsourced? Like every decision, every aspect of the game, we ask some sort of community, what do you want? And we just make that 100%.
Yeah, so my hypothesis is that it's gonna be very boring. I think.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be a boring game. That's what we're gonna end up with.
Because you just end up in the middle of what everyone wants, and it becomes like completely expected. There's nothing new, or there's nothing like. Well, it depends on how you do the crowdsourcing, I guess. Okay. Would you just listen to every single request, or would you try to find some middle ground between all the requests? Because if you try to find a middle ground, I think it's going to be very boring. But
you would have to find a middle ground. No, or, I mean...
But if you don't find a middle ground, I think you just pick the ideas that you like the most.
No, but I mean, if you, like... For example, if you did genre, it's just like, oh, we're gonna have RPG, we're gonna have RTS, we're gonna have action adventure, like list all the genres, and then you would just do the one with the most votes, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's say most people voted for FPS. What kind of mechanics?
That's the next question. It's just like, oh, what kind of mechanics do you like? Do you want realistic ballistics? Do you want like grenades? Do you want?
Yeah, but so I'm thinking like maybe okay. So if we do FPS, if most people want to do FPS,
Mm-hmm.
and like in my experience, I think people they want very realistic type of games.
They do.
But I'm not sure if that's. I'm not sure if they want to play that game. You know.
Yeah.
It's like one of the most like we want to play a game where you can destroy every building and like destructible environments, for example.
Yeah.
Or like very realistic gun mechanics. But
and realistic graphics.
Yeah. Well, realistic graphics doesn't really. I mean, it doesn't affect the gameplay, so or maybe it does.
I think it does.
Yeah. I was thinking about. I remember playing Unreal Tournament, the first version of Unreal Tournament, which has kind of like, 90 or early 2000s, late 90s graphics. And if you contrast that with Unreal Tournament 3, which has more like realistic graphics, it's still a bit stylized. It's very difficult to like navigate the environment, especially in Unreal Tournament 3. I mean,
the later one.
Yeah, because there's too much stuff, there's too much details, there's too much like lines and shapes and effects, and you could argue that maybe that's not very realistic, but it was more flashy. But so for me, I couldn't really play the game that well. Because it was too, I couldn't really discern like what should I shoot at and what should I not shoot at.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so much noise.
If you look at a Battlefield game versus, for example, Fortnite, Fortnite is like very cartoony. It's like very obvious. Okay, here's a bush, and if I go into the bush, I'm gonna be hidden, for example.
But is that a real mechanic in Fortnite?
I think so.
Yeah, but what do you think happens when you hide in the bush? Do you just turn invisible, or do you think?
Let's say you turn invisible. Like that's the ultimate cartoon physics. You go into the bush, and as long as you're inside the bush, you're gonna be invisible. And it's very clear to see. Oh yeah, here is a bush. It has like very defined outline, and it's just like go into it, you're gonna be invisible. But in Battlefield, you have a completely realistic bush, and it's just like there's like shrubs next to it, and there's like blades of grass everywhere. It's like it's trying to look like a very realistic place. I mean, you can go into the bush, but maybe it's not even a bush in the game sense. It's actually just grass or whatever. It's like tall grass, and you thought it was a bush, but it's actually tall grass, and it's not gonna hide you at all. It's just the game made the distinction between tall grass and bush not very discernible.
I think it's just all. I think especially destructible environments, even though I think in the past it's been difficult to achieve. I think now you can kind of achieve it. Maybe not on a large multiplayer game because it costs so much to do all the. I don't think you can do it on consoles. I think you can do it like on a server, for example, but then it's gonna cost a lot to run the server. But it introduces so much randomness that you lose all the competitiveness, kind of.
Yeah.
Like it's very. I'm not sure if you lose all of it, but
yeah, because that's the thing because the more random a game is, the less competitive it is.
Or I guess the less predictable it is, which is like if you want a competitive game, you want to have it predictable.
You want to have it predictable, yeah.
Like if chess was random, it would be unfair.
It would be Bad Chess, which you can download on iOS. There's actually a game called Bad Chess with random pieces.
Random pieces?
Yeah.
Like, oh, how does it work?
That's what I want to know. No, it's just I think you play against the computer, against the AI, and it just gives you random pieces within certain limits, and then you just have to try and beat the game, and it's called bad chess. And it is bad chess. So, and I mean, one of the reasons why chess is so competitive, and one of the reasons why you can have such a, let's say, structured league with ELO rating and all that kind of stuff, is because it's so predictable and it's deterministic. There's no randomness in chess, you know. But like, yeah, that's one of the things about, for example, Hearthstone, which is like a competitive card game. People were complaining that was too much randomness. So very often the best player in the tournament would not win. Some other idiot would win. The guy with the best luck would just win. Or girl, 2022, you know. So yeah, but that's interesting, you know.
So what kind of randomness is there in Hearthstone? It's just like if you attack someone, there's a percentage that you might miss.
Yeah. I mean, you can, like, the cards have different effects. Like when you play a card, maybe it will throw out a bomb, and you can get really lucky. Let's say the bomb does 4 damage, and it hits a creature with 4 health, and it's gonna kill it, you know, and it's gonna be nice. But if you hit the other guy that has 5 health, then it's gonna survive and it's gonna be able to attack you. So it's like just a random event has a very huge effect.
Well, in some, like, I think Super Smash Brothers has
Randomness?
Yeah, I think it has this randomness issue from like the people who play other competitive fighting games.
Yeah.
But
what is the random in Super Smash?
I think it's just chaotic. I don't know. I
don't think it has randomness.
Because people like some. I heard some people who play other fighting games.
Yeah.
They say Super Smash Brothers is a bad competitive game because of randomness, I think. But my point was just it's still enjoyable. Like people still play it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, Hearthstone competitive as well. It's very enjoyable. And it's fun to see crazy stuff happen. It's just like, oh, he pulled the exact card he needed at the exact time, and it triggered this random effect that was exactly the right random effect. Like it was like 0.0003 chance, and he won the tournament because of it. And it's just like, for the guy who's the best player, it probably feels really crappy. But for the audience, you know, it's fun.
But so, yeah, I think.
Hey, we got right off topic here.
I think we're still kind of on topic.
Yeah.
Like what players want.
Yeah.
But yeah. So is the game gonna turn into like that kind of game where everything, like all the things that, is it gonna turn into something that all the players, all the gamers fantasize about? Or is it gonna turn into some like middle ground?
Yeah. I think it's gonna turn into what all the players are fantasizing about.
Maybe.
Or because another way to see it is like if you listen to the players and gave them what they said they wanted, you would get one kind of game, and that game would probably be really shit. But if you took a game and you tested it, and you figure out, instead of doing what the players said they want, you did what the test showed that they actually want.
Yeah.
then
based on their actions.
Based on their reactions, you measure their sweat and their pupils and stuff like that to get accurate feedback on their satisfaction.
Yeah. Well, I said actions, but I think reactions is also
Yeah, you would measure their reactions, I think. Not their actions. Although every action is actually
a reaction.
Just a reaction, so you could test their actions as well. Yeah. But I think because one of the companies that is really good at this is McDonald's. And I think that if you just test your way, try to figure out how to hack this brain, figure out what we really, really want, you end up with McDonald's. And as we all know, McDonald's is not good for us. It's just addictive.
But I think one of the main reasons McDonald's is infamous is because cost.
It's cheap.
It's cheap.
That's one thing we want.
Yeah. But in games, this is not a...
Some games are really cheap.
Yeah, but when you ask... They don't take into consideration like how much it's going to cost. They're just...
Of course they do.
When you ask gamers what they want.
Oh, yeah. If you ask gamers what they want... Again, if you're not listening to what they say, but what they, do, then they would say, "Oh, I like free games."
Yeah.
And that's, as we all know, the latest model, free-to-play games.
But in this crowdsource thought experiment, like, do we have money or do we not? Do we have infinite money or? Do you have budget?
We have infinite money.
Yeah, if you have infinite money, then there's no... Like, if McDonald's had...
Infinite money.
Or if they could just make food for free, what would McDonald's look like?
They probably would never exist.
I mean, but... if they could make any food for free...
Yeah, they could make, like, steaks for free.
Yeah.
Their main goal was to make the most. They would do user research and try to find the most addictive food they could, the most pleasurable food. What would they make without considering price? I don't know. I think they would make like better quality, but. I mean, the way they make it now is still pretty addictive,
I guess because they found because they also control a lot of their supplies, right? Like they make, I think, or was it KFC or McDonald's who owns
the chickens?
Chickens, yeah. Or some chicken farms.
McDonald's, they do the same thing. Like, from their potatoes to the cows, I mean, they control everything. It has to be a certain way,
But do you think they own, like, McDonald's in Norway says, like, they're using 100% Norwegian cow? Do you think they own some farms in Norway to make the meat?
I'm not sure. I think they go through Nortura, which is like a company. I don't think they own farms, but I know with their potatoes, for example, it's a very particular kind of potato, and if McDonald's is gonna buy your potatoes, you're gonna have to grow that particular kind of potato.
I think that's kind of interesting. They have their own strand of potatoes.
That is very interesting. But I also would say McDonald's is very bad for our society. Like, we've basically allowed these people to maximize addictiveness in their food on the cost of our health. And I think the same thing would happen if you did the same thing with games. Like you would make if you try to make the most addictive, pleasurable games that you could, in the end you would end up with a game that is bad for you.
Yeah, like gambling type games.
Like gambling, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that kind of the trend?
It is. It is a trend, yeah.
Yeah.
But imagine if you try to make the most pleasurable game, but you didn't try to make money.
I feel like just ads in general is the root cause of all this.
Ads?
Ads. I'd rather just to stay on a app for as long as possible, or stay on the game for as long.
Retention.
Retention. But games don't really have ads. Well, they kind of do like in
mobile games.
Yeah, mobile games have ads. Yeah, but like FIFA, for example, they have ads, but not for external. Like they have ads for microtransactions in a way.
No, but they have ads for Coca-Cola or.
Yeah, maybe so. FIFA is a bad example of.
Yeah, I think FIFA is like the worst example.
Yeah. But I mean, like a game which exists in the fantasy world, they have ads for microtransactions or.
Yeah.
To. Like,
but I would say the game that it's closest to being the McDonald's of games is Fortnite. And Fortnite as well. I mean, they try to make the most pleasurable games, and they have a lot of ads. And
Fortnite has a lot of ads?
Yeah.
Like what kind of ads?
For example, you can unlock Thor from Marvel.
Oh, yeah. Like
product placement.
Yeah. It's like a collaboration with
it's
like they always have the latest
cross promotions, yeah. They always have the latest movie. It's like McDonald's. They're just like, oh, your Happy Meals. It's Batman. Yeah.
I wonder if they have McDonald's in Fortnite. Wouldn't surprise me.
It would not. I remember in one update it was some McDonald's look-alike thing.
Oh.
But not. I don't know. But I mean they do all sorts of products. Advertisement in Fortnite, and it's kind of the worst. But if you ever try to play Fortnite, it feels really good, and I think they are like on the cutting edge of user research and trying and figuring out how to trap people in loops. And just like McDonald's. And I don't know if Fortnite is good for humanity. What do you think?
I don't think any games are bad.
No games are bad. But what are your...
It's kind of like, because you get the experience corporation and corporation and it's World of Warcraft. I know many people who play World of Warcraft who kind of like, for example, I know someone who used to trade a lot of things in World of Warcraft, like hustle.
Yeah,
and he became a business kind of person in real life, where he does, like, this is his thing, like not to hustle, but like economics and
yeah. But I mean, for every kind of that story, but I mean let's say the happy part of that story is that he got out of World of Warcraft. It's just like, he was done with it, and now he took his skills into the real world, But that's like saying, oh, this one guy I know, he used to eat a lot of McDonald's food, But now he eats real food because he learned.
But so he's playing games, not just. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking like when before games, children still play games.
Before video games.
Yeah, before video games.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
they're not so addictive, I guess, or.
Yeah, I think they are as addictive. Like if you play football, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to play that all day when I was a kid, and it was very addictive.
I mean, I heard some stories about. I know this one guy who really wanted to be a football player, but it didn't really work out. So he kind of rejected everything else except football, playing football. But it's a bit like saying you want to be an artist. Like it's a risk to take. Like if you want to earn money playing football, it's a very high risk, right?
High risk, high reward.
Yeah. Well, is it bad to take that risk?
From what standpoint?
Like instead of doing something else, like it's continuing education or I don't know what.
I think it's a very good like society. Societies really need heroes, people that push the limits and people that can be admired, people that are, sort of the ideal. And football players are supposed to be the ideal, that's like their purpose in society. It's like, oh, here's a guy that trained real hard, he became a football player, I want to be like that guy and work real hard as well, even though I'm just working in the sausage factory.
So my point is kind of like, because most football players don't make it, right?
Yeah.
But is it bad
that they don't make it?
Yeah.
Yeah, are you just screwing around, wasting your life if you are not a successful football player? I think most people would say yes. But is that the objective truth?
It's the same with being an artist, or like you want to be a painter or musician or.
But I think like even though because now every football player, if you want to be a football player, you have to be a football player on the global stage, and the same with an artist. If you want to be an artist, you got to be an artist on the global stage. But back in the day, you could be just the best football player in the village, or the best artist in the village, and then you would be kind of the ideal in that village, and your life would be purposeful. I don't think you could just play football though if you were in a tribe or something like that. But I think maybe you could be a musician. I don't know. Maybe you could. And then, what was my point again? I think you can still be sort of an ideal, or like be admired and be looked up to, even if you're like an artist that never really made it on the global stage. Like maybe just like paint some paintings and they sell for a little bit, and then some people are like, wow, that guy, he's so inspiring because he does what he really wants to do. And
well, even that is kind of difficult.
What?
To make a living of what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one thing is global stage, yes, but just being a musician, making money of being a musician is not. It's very difficult. But yeah, why can't we just live some difficult lives? Like, I know many struggling musicians.
You do?
And they're very happy doing what they do. Maybe their parents are not so happy. Maybe their parents wishes they would be like doctors or
and lawyers and such. Mm-hmm.
But how does this relate to
crowdsourced design?
Yeah, or even before, or
I don't know.
How does it relate to games being addictive?
I don't know how we got into this. But maybe we should just like put a pin in it and then go to the next topic.
No.
I draw a little pin here so we'll know that this topic has not been resolved yet. And then we can do number 3, which is going to be a very exciting topic, I think.
Is a factory in Satisfactory a real factory?
There you go. That's the topic. Okay, because I was having a discussion with my roommate. I was watching some streamer that played Satisfactory, which is like a factory building game. I don't remember what the discussion was now. It's just like
you told me like he just like why waste time building a real factory?
No, that's not it.
No? He was being condescending, I think.
he was being condescending. And
like, what's the point?
Yeah, because at least the conversation it went into is if you're building a factory in Satisfactory, are you really building a real factory? Because I mean, my argument would be that this factory is actually producing something, even though it's virtual. Like if you made like a website, like let's say you're making like a ticket website, and you make a program that produces tickets, a factory, then I mean you would hire a team that would do this, and it would take you a month or something like that. And it's just like, okay, now we made you a website, and you spend all these resources trying to make this factory that makes virtual tickets. I mean, I would argue that that's a real factory, an actual thing, an actual valuable thing. You could sell these tickets. It's a good system.
But do you think value is important?
Value is important, yeah.
But is there value in
making
a Satisfactory factory? The thing it produces. I mean, it has value for you, I guess.
It has value for you, the player. I mean, it feels good to produce a lot of stuff. So to you, it does feel like you're actually producing something, even though it's like iron ingots and metal plates inside this game. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of misery, and then you make something and it's like it feels real, you know?
But is it really a factory?
It's kind of the same discussion that we had before. Like, if you just play a game, is the experience real?
Yeah.
Or is it valuable? It's kind of the same. Like, if you do something that is just digital, virtual, and it feels valuable and fun and meaningful to you, but it doesn't really affect the world, then is it meaningful?
Yeah, so I would argue that, like, I think we have different views on, like, philosophical views on what's real and not real. Like, I tend to think that, well, for me, something real means something that's reproducible I mean, not in a factory sense, but something you can repeat, and that's always real, forever. And
for everyone.
For everyone and forever in time as well. But you tend to think, like in the Rick and Morty example you told me, like where Morty lives in a
where they play Roy. For you, the Rick and Morty fans, they play this video game where you play as Roy, and you're born, and you go to school, and you get a wife, have kids, and get a job, and then you die. And inside the game, it takes 60 years, and it feels like 60 years, but outside it takes like 5 minutes to play it. And when you wake up, like that's the thing in Rick and Morty, like. Morty plays this, and then he wakes up and it's just like, oh, what the fuck happened? Where am I? Because he's been experiencing Roy for 60 years. So I mean, to Morty, this experience was real. It was an actual experience, and I think it is like this experience we are having now is no more real than that video game is to Morty.
Yeah, so individually it's the same. Like if I have a dream.
If you have a dream,
it's
a very good example.
I mean, I think it's, well, even I tend to think that it's not real.
The dreams?
It's because I know that most people dream, and it's just something the brain does when it's sleeping, and it's just your imagination.
But you could, if you do the flip side as well, maybe the thing you're doing, the brain is doing when it's awake, maybe that's just something the brain is doing, and the thing in the dream is the real world.
Well, it could be, but my definition of real is, even if that was the case, my definition of real is like it has to be reproducible. It has to be, all of this scientifically reproducible.
How is this reproducible?
This conversation?
No, just like this experience.
Because I know that this office is gonna be here tomorrow. And I know that buildings tend to stay the same because of physics and...
Yeah, but you know also that everything you're experiencing in this office, every touch, every smell, every sound, it's just electrical vibrations in different senses inside your brain, So it could be that it's not that real.
No, so I'm saying, like, even if it's a flip side where, like, right now I'm dreaming, and when I dream I'm in reality.
You're awake.
Yeah, I'm awake.
You're in the real reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that is.
Yeah, maybe that is the case. Maybe that is the case.
Yeah.
But my definition of real is still flipped. Like, I still think this is real, and my dreaming is not real.
And you would also say that when you're in a video game, that is also not real. But that is reproducible. That is even more reproducible than this. Because that's more deterministic.
Yeah. Well, I know how the game works. Maybe that has something to do with it.
You know how the game works.
Yeah,
so
like therefore, how we program the game and we know it runs on a
CPU. Therefore, it's not real. Because you know how it works.
Yeah, it's not really a good argument.
No, because the logical conclusion to that argument would be that if you could know the rules of the world, the universe, then it would cease to be real.
But it's also but I think it depends on which. So
that's a really cool argument. I'm gonna write that down.
But I think it boils down to if there's a utility to having to know if something is real or not, because we want to share we want to share the knowledge of.
Are you on deep waters?
Not really. I don't know how to say it in English.
Oh. We can cut this out.
Yeah. If something is is it useful to think everything is real?
Is it useful to think that everything is real? I don't think that's particularly useful.
Why not?
What would you use it for? I can't see anything you would use it for. I mean, it's useful to think that everything in this world matters. I think that's a useful thought. And I mean, when you're saying that something matters, that's also a way of saying that it's real. So I guess in that sense it would be useful.
But it matters, because individually we all think something specific matters. I have my way of some things matter for me more than some things matter for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But how do you reconcile that difference?
Reconcile that difference?
Yeah. How can we live in the same world where
different things matter to different people?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see any unreconcilable, anything reconcilable with that.
I think we have to agree that the world works the way it works, so we can predictably
work together.
Yeah.
Be a part of the same universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if everything is real and if everything is true, then that doesn't work.
Like if video games are real and true, that doesn't work. Or if dreams are real and true.
Like if I dreamt that you stole $1,000 from me, and I insist on it's being real, but you said no, I didn't steal, it was just a dream. How do you
reconcile that?
Yeah.
But okay, let's say in this scenario that I never stole $1,000, but both you and 100 other people, they all dreamt it or imagined it, then I would be fucked, because even though that is not reality, your fantasies would trump reality, basically. Because in a way, the fact that I didn't steal $1,000 is also a fantasy, but that fantasy is only in my head. No, even though that's also in fact reality. Everything is basically fantasy if you think about it.
No, but in this case, if more people dreamt that you stole $1,000 from me, then you think it's unfair and we think it's unfair because but then you need a system to figure out what really happened.
Objective reality.
Which is a court system or something like that.
Cameras.
Cameras.
But I'm saying in this scenario, if you went to court, then reality would be decided, and reality would be decided to be that I stole $1,000.
Well, based on evidence, right?
Yeah.
And
if there's not based on evidence, based on the fact that 100 eyewitnesses.
But that's not how.
That is how it works.
But then it's just word against word.
Yeah, but as long as it's 100 against 1, If it's one person against one person, it's one thing, but 100 against one, then I think most courts would rule in the favor of the 100 people.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. Like I think there are many cases of where something bad happened.
Yeah.
And for example, the media is reporting on this and people get angry at this person for doing something.
Mm-hmm.
But it turned out it didn't actually happen. It was just early anger and
yeah. Okay, let's say you're in like a football stadium and you're just sitting there and we sit next to each other and for some reason 100 people are staring at us and like I mean my arm rub up against you in a way that it makes it look like I stole $1,000 from you, but I never did. There's no evidence at all, but there's 100 eyewitnesses that all report the same thing. I stole $1,000 from you. Of course, I think most courts would rule, yeah, you probably took it.
yeah, but okay, it's kind of like a bizarre example because
it's a very bizarre example.
Yeah, we could just check who has the money, right?
But let's say the money is gone. No.
Yeah, but then. I don't think it works like that. If there's word against word.
I think it does.
I think, for example, Me Too has proven this.
What?
That's.
Be careful.
In some cases, it's very difficult to prove anything, either side.
Yeah.
So it's left to nothing.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, if
I think that's the default. If there's no evidence, you can't just side with people.
I think you can, if there's enough. And I mean, for example, well, we talked about this before. Like, a company, for example, is a company real?
Or when we talk about this, I think it was about consciousness. If a company has consciousness.
I'm not talking about if a company has consciousness. I'm talking if a company is real. Is a company a part of reality?
Yeah, because we agree that when like in Norway, if you register a company in Brønnøysund register, it's real. That's how we decide if it's real or not.
Is it?
Yeah. It's rules we made.
Yeah, but in reality, I mean, because the only place that the company exists is in our fantasy, right?
Yeah, but since it's also registered as an official company,
even
that
if
anchors the.
Even if all the documents that ever existed about the company, like let's say tomorrow, like this company that we work for example, all the documents they disappear. I mean, we would still come here to work.
Yeah.
And we would cooperate.
Yeah.
And we would act as if this company still exists.
Yeah. Well, so I agree with you on this, but that's like it depends on which lens you put on, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, of course, we think it's still real.
Yeah.
But we, like in society, we agree that a company is only real if they have the right documents to prove that they're a company.
Yeah.
So in that sense, we're not a real company, but because of the rules we made.
Yeah.
Because if you don't follow the rules, we're not a real company.
If you follow the law.
Yeah, the law, or well, the rules that we decided to have.
Yeah. But I mean,
to make this kind of to prevent fake companies or unserious companies from existing. You know?
Yeah. I'm just trying to make the point that this company, the only place it exists is in our fantasy, in our collective understanding of what this company is. It's the only thing that is real about this company. Like everything else, I mean, we have an office, we have computers, but obviously the company is not there. And the only way for this company to be deleted is if the memory and the fantasies about this company disappear from all our heads at the same time.
And all the customers we have.
And all the customers as well.
Yeah.
They would also need to be erased.
Landlords.
And the landlord with yeah.
I mean, yeah, I agree, but
that is only a fantasy, right? But it's also real.
Yeah, I agree that's a fantasy, but it's not very useful, I think, to think like this.
Think that the company is a fantasy.
Because if everything is just in our heads, I mean, in a way, yes, I agree, everything is just in our heads. But if you just go around thinking everything is everything is a matter of perspective, or it's not really, nothing is real, nothing is not real, then we can't decide on anything. So I think to me, something being real is like something we as a humanity decided.
Yeah.
In the same way, like the documents proving that this company exists. It's like for the same reason, I think.
Yeah, but then back to the real question at hand: is a factory in a video game real? I mean, if I watch a streamer build a factory, and I mean, for his audience, he definitely spent some time building this factory.
So I think it just depends on what the definition of factory is.
And the definition of real.
Yes. That's kind of
that's very unhelpful.
But if the definition of a factory is like it has to be something physical, then of course Satisfactory is not a real factory.
Yeah.
But there are many cases where we have, like in programming, there's a factory pattern. Is that a real factory?
I would say it is.
Yeah, but it's not really a physical factory.
No, it's not a physical factory.
No, but it's a factory, like in the sense that it's a programming pattern.
It takes components and then manufactures some sort of output.
But when you ask like a factory worker if that is a factory, do you think they will agree?
Like in a steel factory, for example, just a guy working there, just like, hey, I made this app, bro. It makes. I used the factory pattern. It makes tickets. If we ask him what he would think, no, he wouldn't think it's a factory.
Because he doesn't know.
He doesn't know
the definition of.
He's ignorant. This guy.
But is he right?
No, I don't think so.
So what happened to all everyone is right and everyone's
right.
In his reality, it's not a factory.
In his reality,
right?
It's not a factory. That is very true.
So how do you reconcile this?
In his fantasy,
Why do you say fantasy as in like it's a negative thing, or you say
no? I'm saying it like a neutral term. I'm just saying that because ultimately my belief is that this whole thing that I've constructed here is just a fantasy going on in my head. It's just electrical signals, just like a dream, just like a video game. It's just electrical stimuli to my brain. So why would this be any more real than a video game?
At least compared to a dream, it's this reality that you're experiencing right now is much more predictable than a dream.
It's more predictable.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's equally real.
But why won't, like, if you dreamt that I stole $1,000 from you, would it be real?
Yeah, it would be real until I changed my mind.
Why did you change your mind?
Because I started fantasizing different things.
Because, like, I know that you're not that kind of person who, if you dreamt that I stole something from you, you wouldn't wake up the next morning
and accuse you.
Yeah.
No, I would not.
But why?
Because when I wake up in the morning, I'm gonna change my mind.
Why do you change your mind?
Based on evidence.
Oh, what's that evidence?
That I still got my 1,000 crowns.
What if I stole something that you didn't own? Or I guess you wake up and realize you don't.
What if you like stole my heart or something like that in a dream?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh my god. I wake up the next morning, I'll be like, oh my god, Elias, he stole my heart. I'm gonna go. I gotta go get it back.
Well, some people think like this.
Yeah.
And we would call them delusional.
Yeah, or worse things I've heard.
Yeah. People who can't discern what's real and not real.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, it's very unhelpful that they don't share the common conception of what is real and not real, because we can't cooperate with those people because of they believe the world is different than we believe, and of course that is kind of bad. But I do also believe that their belief, their fantasy about what is real is just as real as my fantasy of what's real.
Yeah,
I
also agree with that.
Even though more people share to a certain extent, my belief.
But I also agree with that.
So, I think we can conclude that a satisfactory factory is real. I'm not gonna write a yes here.
I think it depends on who you ask.
Of course, but now we're asking us.
Okay.
I'm gonna circle yes. Okay, that's it for today's show. That's all the topics we have. If you want to know more things, you can just send us topics, or if you have a good topic, just send us a topic. And I think it's been a good show today. I feel like this format was really nice, and it's nice to just focus on the conversation for once and not have to play a game at the same time, because that was kind of difficult.
Yeah, distracting.
Yeah, but maybe we'll do more games later if you guys want to see that. Give us a comment in the comment section. Any last words? Where can people reach you?
I was gonna say GitHub, but that doesn't have messaging. You can't reach.
No, but you can look at your projects and stuff. Hey, you got some music as well if you want to plug that.
It's on soundcloud.com/capsadmin.
Capsadmin.
With C.
Yeah. And as always, my name is Terje Balstad. Elias Hogstvedt. See you guys later in the next episode. Peace!